Okay. Hi, guys and girls. How's it going? Hope you guys are having a great week. Welcome to the latest episode of Normandy Newsfeed, your one-stop shop for all things gaming and geek culture related. I am back today, joined by Fish and Dante, and we're going to kick off. But before we do that, I do want to say a big thank you to everybody who has supported the last two episodes, listened to it, watched it, commented, liked. I've actually been kind of blown away by the reaction, so thank you so much for your support. Looking forward to making more of these. So we're going to kick off today's podcast with one of my favorite sections, which is What's New.
How you holding up, Skipper?
Right, so this section, obviously, of the podcast, we talk about what we've been getting up to in the last month. As always, I'll kick off today, and mine is going to be gaming related. There's two main games I've been playing this month. Destiny 2 Lightfall dropped this month. I've been playing the hell out of that. I've put so many hours into that already. It basically dropped like literally just before my birthday, and I had a week and a half off of work. And I've been joining my fire team, and we've been playing lots of Lightfall. Really enjoying it, to be fair. Initially, my reactions were a little bit mixed on it. The campaign doesn't resolve. It's very much, it feels like the Infinity War to Endgame, right? Where it's kind of like it's
building to something.
It's building to something. It's setting things off, you know, but there's a lot of unanswered questions at the end of the campaign. One of the main ones being, what is this veil? Apparently, it's this MacGuffin or whatever, something that the traveler that could potentially be used by the big bad, which is the Witness and the pyramid, and it's this whole culmination of 10 years worth of story, which is the darkness versus the light. So I was jumping into this really excited, but at the end of it, I'm like, what the heck's going on? I still have no answers to any of these questions. But
Sounds like Bungie.
But I will say I am intrigued. And apparently next year in the final, I forget, the final shard or something, the final part or whatever, it's going to be concluding. But some nice new introductions. So there's a new subclass, which is Strand, which is awesome. Like, it's literally just, it's kind of like you're Spider-Man, if that makes sense. Like, you can basically use this to kind of swing out and grapple onto things, grapple onto enemies, pull enemies towards you, pull yourself towards enemies. You can throw these grenades out which string enemies up into the air, and you can combo with your teammates and stuff. So the core of what is great, obviously, about Destiny, which is the gunplay, the gameplay, it's still really sweet, and that's what keeps you obviously coming back. The new raid did drop, but you need 6 people to play it. We are going to be playing it at some point, and I'm really looking forward to that. It's like the more challenging Destiny. It's like 6 people. You have to get a crew together. And we did actually record a little bit of Destiny. We started a collaboration video. We recorded 3 of our footage, and I have the huge job of cutting that all together. And we did Grasp of Avarice, which is basically like a tribute to Indiana Jones, sort of. And the Goonies a little bit too, which is kind of awesome. There's lots of hilarity, there's lots of death, mostly me dying. So it should be really, really amusing. So that will be coming probably in the next like week or so, depending on how long it takes me to do. The other thing I've been playing is Like a Dragon Ishin. Have either of you heard of that?
Heard of it? Not invest. Like a Dragon's part of the Yakuza franchise, right?
Yes, yeah. So
yes,
it's
and I knew the original release was Japan only.
Yeah.
Kind of redone it a bit.
Yeah, it's kind of like a remaster, sort of. It is only Japanese audio, so there is no English soundtrack, so it is the original in Japanese, obviously with subtitled, but it's like a spin-off more than anything. So it's like the Yakuza cast and characters, but set in like this kind of Tokugawa period with the samurai. It's set in Kyo, which is like basically Kyoto when it was the capital. And I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it, especially for me because they keep referencing things like Gion and Kiyomizudera and stuff, which is the next place I'm going to visit. And I'm like, Kiyomizu. If you guys don't know, obviously when we were in Japan, we visited Kyoto quite a lot. It's one of my favorite places in Japan. So I'm kind of curious to see how they bring that, bring that to life and how it's going to look in that kind of like Tokugawa setting. But voice acting is great. The characters are really cool. The story is obviously based on historical events. So it's really interesting. The gameplay is your typical Yakuza thing. Sometimes the best parts of Yakuza are the stupid little side things and side mini games that you can do, like their version of karaoke and different things and like dancing and stuff. But the combat's quite good. It's like there's 4 different fighting styles that you've got. So you've got like your swordsman, your gunman, which is just pistol, and then you've got your dancer, which is my favorite class, where you actually wield a sword and a pistol at the same time, and you basically it's really fun. I'm really enjoying it. I'm about 10 to 15 hours into it, and so far super enjoying it. Looking forward to playing more. Need to play less Destiny so I can play more Like a Dragon Ishin, so hopefully I can play some of that over the next few days. But that's what I've been doing in the last month. What about you guys? Fish, what have you been up to?
So I've been playing fewer computer games this month. I've certainly played some. I got Metroid Prime Remastered and
Nice.
burnt through it.
Nice.
I think I've managed to get my 100% playthrough on normal mode in 14 hours, and
Very
my immediate jump into 100% on hard mode managed to burn through in 8 hours.
Nice.
So once again, being more familiar with the map after a normal mode playthrough, able to burn through it. And I can say for people who've never played the Metroid Prime franchise, certainly this one again is worth your time. They've done a really good job of remastering it. Again, I think we've discussed before what the difference is between a reboot and a remaster. This is not a reboot; it is the exact same game from the GameCube era, but they've rebuilt it from the ground up. The graphics are as gorgeous today, by today's standards, as they were on the GameCube in its original day. The environments are delightful. The creatures and aliens wandering around the landscapes are gorgeous, and it's the truest example of a 2D Metroid converted to 3D. They've really got the overworld sprawling map and backtracking, hidden items really nailed down, I think, as best as anyone could, transferring such an iconic 2D game into a 3D environment. The bulk of my time, however, has been very heavily centered around acoustic games, aka board games. Let's play acoustic. I went to a board game convention. Most of my time has been playing board games, or as I like to call them, acoustic video games. The board game convention was great. It was 18 quid for the weekend. It was 18 quid for the day, 30 quid for the weekend. I'll certainly be going back for the full weekend next year.
Very nice.
Great value for money. And the weekend was basically, they've got like a huge library collection where you can just come and take what you want and return it and play what you want. They had a load of dealers halls, people promoting their old games and new games are bringing by, so people can sell their old games for like a discounted price. And my 2 comeaways from it, which I shall mention right now, the first of which is a new board game by Gaimic Games called Acropolis. It's a nice city building game. You've got these nice little tiles, hexagons, that you start to lay out. The idea and purpose is that you are building a city and you want to have a nice spread of different districts, residential, markets, military, parks, and temples. You can actually build on top of what you've already built on, so your point score of what is visible by the end of the game. And there are multipliers depending on certain factors, and I'd say it fits really nicely into that category of really easy to learn how to play, but will take some time to master and become really good at.
Yeah,
So,
we played it together, didn't we, this week? And I enjoyed it. Like, because usually games take me a little bit to get used to, but actually I quite enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to playing it again. Now I understand it a little bit better. Like, oh, whatever.
After one game, you feel confident that a second game you will be much better.
Yes, the secret is to build up.
And the second takeaway from it is a board game based around my one of my top 5 films, which is Jaws. I absolutely love the film Jaws. Couldn't get away from it, and I saw several. Yeah, and we will rectify that.
Yes.
I think what surprised me about this game is I bought it because it was on the cheap, and I was just taking a risk. Because like anything that's licensed on a franchise, you think this could either be really good or it could just be a shameless cash-in. And I was really pleased to find out that actually it's an absolutely brilliant board game. It's kind of a semi-co-op one. So one person plays as the shark, everyone else plays as Brody, Quint, and Hooper, and the game takes place over 2 acts. The first act is the shark swimming around the island trying to eat swimmers, everybody else trying to find the shark, and then the second act of the game is the iconic scene of the shark attacking the boat with Hooper, Quint, and Brody on it. And the second part is basically defined by how well the first part went for which side. If the shark eats a specific number of swimmers, the shark gets more abilities. If the crew catch the shark before the shark eats so many swimmers, then they get more abilities than the shark. So it levels it out quite nicely. And I wasn't expecting it to be a good board game. I was hoping, but I wasn't expecting, and I'm so pleased I was wrong.
I think that's a fun one where you're trying to like read each other's minds.
I think
like,
that's it.
Predict what you're going to do.
It comes into the invisible location style of board game. We have played a game of Betrayal at House on Haunted Hill, which had one of its scenarios as the betrayer was invisible.
Jesus.
And nobody could see where you had to make a note.
That.
Yeah, the betrayer had to make a note of where they were at all times.
Quick, someone grab the flower.
Yeah, it was a really good. It was a really good scenario, but I think the hidden location mechanic isn't one that's used enough in board games. I find it always could be quite an interesting one, especially when it's done well.
Yeah. Cool. I'm looking forward to playing that one with you and checking that out. We do like our board gaming as well, which we do need to do more of. So Dante, what have you been up to then this past month?
Bit of all sorts. Gaming wise, anything new? Coldcept Revolt on the 3DS. I bought it years ago, but the eShop is closing this week, and it had me playing the first couple of hours just to unlock the in-game shop so I could download some free content on it. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh! Meets Monopoly. That's the best I can describe it as.
Okay.
You battle for property.
Yeah, kind of. And if you land on their monsters, you got to fight the monsters. You lose, you're paying money, kind of thing. Most experience I've had with it is I had the first manga volume like yonks back. I think it was based on like Dreamcast games or something like that. But I've not played any of it, so it's new to me. So that's been an interesting one. I did my first solo stream. Did you guys know?
Yes.
I did
a very good
3. Trying to do my road to X rank. Hopefully, well, be the next week, which will be this week, which will be in
Thursday.
2 days' time.
Yes. Not to confuse anyone. On Thursday.
But you'll be watching this video probably in the future, so we might have already done it. But either way, Fish might be joining me.
Hey!
I might have a couple of other Splatoon friends also join us, so that should be cool. TV-wise, we forgot to mention a while ago, The Full-Time Wife Escapist on Netflix.
So good.
Yeah, we burnt through this.
We burnt through it. We were so addicted to that show. It's hilarious.
I don't even think I've heard of it.
It's a live-action drama based on a manga.
Set in Japan, of course. It's a J-drama. It's a Japanese drama.
J-dramas, you call it. Yeah. So we have 25-year-old Mikuri. No, it's me.
Mikuri. Yeah. Mikuri.
She's just lost her temp job, and she's given a chance to become a housekeeper at Hiramasa's home to earn some cash.
Yes.
Hiramasa is a 36-year-old office worker and professional bachelor with no interest in anything that will complicate his simple life. After Mikuri learns like her parents are about to move to the countryside, she enters a contract marriage with Hiramasa, so she can basically live with him and have a stable source of employment while he gains a constant cook and cleaner. It's a bit of
Basically, yeah. It's the idea that like housewives are like like if they were paid, like they're unpaid, you know, for all the extra work that they do, kind of thing. So it's funny. It's really, really funny. Like, and it's sort of a romantic comedy, really, in the end.
Yeah, basically.
It's like they sit down and have like meetings about stuff, but it's like an employer and an employee, but they're also like pretending to their family that they're married, and they have to like keep their like people believing it and stuff.
Keep
and
the status quo.
Yeah, and like some people start to suspect there's something not right, and spying on them and stuff. It's just really good. It's so, and the chemistry between the cast and the
all the cast were brilliant. There were like loads of little funny situations, but also the tears, the drama, the this and that.
Yeah. But because it's a J drama, it's what I like about J drama is they're so feel good in the end. There is always like the drama and the bit where you're like proper tearing up, but it's always feel good in the end.
See, all this talk of like hidden agendas and trying to keep it secret from everyone just makes me want to watch Orange High School House Club again.
Yeah. If you like that, you will like this. I think you will like it, Fish. As we
I'll
were watching it, we were like, we got to tell Fish about this. You'll love it.
Yeah, it was definitely based on
It's really good.
It was definitely a bit of a commentary as well about how Japan works with its
Japanese society and women and pressure on women to get married, and if you're like a business lady, it's for me it was cool to see because obviously I've lived there, so it felt very like, yes, I can see this and relate to it. It was really good.
Afterwards, I was looking stuff up and I found out that Hiramasa's actor not only wrote and sang that insanely catchy outro song.
What?
Yeah, he's really popular.
Oh my god! I want to actually learn the dance and kind of do it. I hate TikTok. I hate TikTok with every fiber of my being, but I would do TikTok for that dance because it's brilliant.
Apparently, it got
you heard it here, folks.
It memed to heck in Japan when it kicked out.
So good.
But so not only did he do that, but of course he ended up getting married to Mikuri's actress in real life as well. Mm-hmm. So they ended up becoming a proper couple.
That's how much good chemistry they had, obviously. Yeah. I know. It's funny.
Yeah, great stuff. And then the other, of course, TV series was Last of Us, but we're going to talk about that perhaps next podcast. So other than saying, good watch, I shall leave it there for now.
It was very, very good. Yeah, that's Dante giving a hint, obviously, about the main feature for our next podcast. We're actually going to, because it seems very relevant, there's a lot of video game adaptations coming out, upcoming, and also have just recently come out and been received very positively and done very well. So we wanted to go through not all, but a lot of video game adaptations and actually rank them and have a discussion about them, including guilty pleasures, absolutely awful ones, right? Like the original Mario Brothers like live action movie. But we're going to actually do some research and like watch some of these films again that we probably haven't seen for like 20 years to refresh our memory.
We have to go on a movie bender, aren't we?
Yes, you heard it here, guys. We're going to torture ourselves for the all for content, all for content creation. But if you guys do have any suggestions for video game adaptations, whether that is movies, TV shows, do post those in the comment section if there's anything you'd like us to check out, and then obviously share our opinions on it. Do share that in the comment section. Yes. Go on.
But what's this subject for today?
Very nice segue, Dante. Very professional. So we are going to move into quite smoothly there. Very good. Into the main feature for today's podcast.
Crowbar.
Yes. Subtle. Very subtle. Very good.
Spit it out, or are you trying to build suspense?
So, in today's main feature, we wanted to actually keep things a little bit positive because obviously the last two main features, the first one we talked about the downfall or the fall of Ubisoft, didn't we? And then the last time we talked about games as a live service. So our main features have been sort of negative, you know, and a lot of everything going on in the game industry is negative at the moment when you look at microtransactions and crunch, everything else going on. But I wanted today's main feature to actually be a little bit different. I want to break the mold. I want to basically break that YouTube algorithm because it is geared towards negative content, unfortunately. And I want to actually focus on the positive. So what I'd like to do today is actually talk about the positive impact that video games can actually have. Yeah. Because they've had a positive impact on my life. Right, otherwise I wouldn't do it as a hobby if it had a positive impact, and that's what I want to talk about today. And hopefully, you know, we can all talk about this and you know, what positive impact it's had on our lives or what impacts we've seen, maybe our thoughts on the topic. So I'll kick us off if you like. So one of the first major positive impacts for me for video games is I game as a hobby as kind of, for me, sometimes gaming can be a bit of a stress relief, right? You know, so, you know, work can be very, very stressful, very stressful. And one of the ways I like to unwind when I come home in the evening is obviously to play games. Now, depending on how stressful I am, how stressed I am, that will obviously impact the types of games I play, right? So I find, I don't know what this says about me, but I find playing Destiny, shooting some heads, killing some bad guys, quite therapeutic, especially if I've had a very, very stressful day, right? But there are certain games I will avoid if I am high stress, like horror games, for example, because they just add to my stress levels. But video games can also be a form of escape. I find that a lot of society at the moment, there's so much negative news out there. There are so many problems going on in the world. There's so much hate and you know, just all sorts of things going on. So games can also be a form of escape, right? A form of escapism. And it's the same with people that read books, you know, read a novel or read a book to escape into another world and a little bit of fantasy and to get their imagination going. Video games are like that for me too. You know, for me, when I lived in Japan, obviously you guys know Mass Effect is a big thing for me, right? Like it's one of my favorite game franchises. And when we've heard of it. We've heard it's a small series. But I first played it when I was in Japan. Now, I had a great experience in Japan. I did have an amazing experience. However, what I will say is there were times that living abroad in a foreign country, in a foreign culture, away from family and friends was really stressful, right? And especially in terms of those time zones and missing out on things. And so I didn't have that close. I did have friends, don't get me wrong. I had a close-knit group of support and friends, but I was missing friends, I was missing family. And Mass Effect, it's going to sound really cheesy, but all the characters that you get interact with, they're not your family, but they become kind of like it. You know, you go into that world and you're seeing Garrus and seeing Rex, and you know, it cheered me up. Does that make sense? And I kind of escaped into that world and into that experience. And then obviously I spoke about Mass Effect with friends that also game in that area and, you know, connected with them on that. And I think a lot of people I do think that do struggle with mental health and things do gravitate, I think, towards like RPGs and forms of escape and stuff like that.
Living another life, kind of.
Yeah, living another life and being someone else. You know, if your life is a bit shit at that time, right? Yeah. I want to live my life. I want to live someone else's life, right? And and having, and I think as well, like having that kind of like power and control. Like, because some people feel that they don't have that in life, and life is, you know, they feel a bit overwhelmed by things. And sometimes games can give you that sense of like, I'm making the decisions and impacting on this world and things like that, to go really, really deep on it.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of people, video games are a very important form of stress relief and help them to deal with mental health issues, whether that's anxiety or depression or any other, whole heap of issues. So I think in that way, video games, it can be a positive expression of that, or a positive escape from that, allow them to kind of express themselves in a different way, if that makes sense. Just like dancing and music and singing, are other things for other people, and some people play sport, as a form of stress relief, or like your brother Dante goes on crazy ass long marathon runs and stuff like that, and that might be his form of stress relief, possibly. For many people, I think video games are a way for them to do that, and I think that's definitely one positive impact for me. Any thoughts from you, Dante?
When you mentioned even the Mass Effect in Japan kind of thing, I like the fact that when we had multiplayer in ME3, you were able to despite being millions of miles away or whatever, you were able to play with me and other friends just through that game and chat on the voice chat and all that. Yeah, we could do it on Skype or whatever as well, but it's it was more involving and sharing the same kind of experience and chatting about the characters and stuff like that.
Yeah. Many a fun time.
Yeah, but if I'm on about other topics and all that, I'm sure I've read essays on this, when I was doing my university course and stuff like that. How the gaming helps with hand-eye coordination and all that kind of jazz, and your reactions and
your reaction times. Yeah.
And stuff like that. And you get a bit of a happy as well in most games. If it's not stressy and it's happy fun games, then it just makes you feel that bit better as well. And one of my main positive effects that I always end up quoting is generally a kind of community thing. You the possibility of you being able to meet other people through it and all that.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, you guys met for Pokemon.
I would never have met you if it wasn't for Pokemon, and by proxy, I'd have never then met Jay.
Well.
Yeah. So through basically going to a tournament for a Pokemon, in Gen 3, I met Fish and Edge for the first time, and then from that on, friendships bonds were forged through battle and all this and that. And once I get through Splatoon, I've ended up making some friends as well. It's just it's that when you're staying away from the toxic styly people, you do find the good players.
You find that sense of community, and friendships formed, and and international friendships, which is kind of amazing. For me, I'm playing through Destiny now. Obviously, I'm having so much fun because I am playing with, three or four other people, but we're from all different walks of life, different backgrounds, different countries, hell, different languages. If we took Totes into fact, because she's German and she's constantly teaching me random German sayings as I'm teaching her random Japanese sayings as we're playing. But I think because of the internet and because of gaming and now you've got cross-platform support and stuff like that. It's breaking down those barriers, isn't it? And you're meeting people and speaking to people you might never have spoken to. And I think if we think about the pandemic, how important so many more people jumped onto gaming during the pandemic. Right? People that had never gamed before, because it was a way for them to connect with other people and have that, even though it wasn't physical, face to face. And I'm not saying that should ever replace actually hanging out with people. That's important too. But there are people that do struggle with that, that do suffer from social anxiety and struggle in a social setting. And that's a way for them to still have that connection with other like-minded people, right? And find that sense of camaraderie, and I think that's really important. So yeah, 100%. Fish, anything from you?
I'd say on that exact same topic, I think the one thing that's made me smile more than anything is I have a friend who works for the Pokemon International Company, working and manages their tournaments, their events on a global scale. You know, the head manager for the recent London London Olympics, the World Pokemon World Cup, which was held in London last year.
Yeah.
And you know, seeing a jet all over the world, but not just seeing her journeys, seeing what that does for everyone who turns up to those events. You know, people of all ages, people of all backgrounds, all coming to that one event. You know, you've got you've got age brackets in a lot of the classes. Like, you know, there's a junior trading card tournament, you know, one for adults.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, once they're out of the tournaments, you see at these things, you know, adults trading Pokemon with kids, you know, talking about a franchise which is, you know, kept them all going.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's more in the animation industry than the video game industry, but it's related to it because this week we will be seeing the very last episode of the Pokemon anime with Ash and Pikachu as the main character.
It's going to be weird.
That's the end of an era, but I can only imagine that is going to be so unbelievably wholesome that I think it's just going to break a lot of people. I don't think it will be the last time we see them as characters, but obviously it's the last time they will be the main characters, and I think that's going to be, yeah.
Do you think there'll be like mentor roles into the new?
I don't, honestly, I can't say. I think that, again, people are theorizing that the new characters in it, that one of them, I think that people are theorizing that the girl may be Ash's daughter, but
so a little bit like Boruto, with
Yeah.
like Naruto, Boruto, and stuff.
Ash will finally not be 10 years old.
He's been like 10 years old for how many years now? Ridiculous.
20
Yes,
odd.
he never ages. Yes, he's like Peter Pan. Yeah. I think, like, to go back to your point, Dante, you know, about the whole medical, you know, side of video gaming. Like, there are a lot of things like you know, gaming, it can be educational too.
And to interject on that point, that's something I've actually just found now. I say not just found out, I've always known it. But with my niece and nephew, who are now 6, they now have their own DS. I spent last Wednesday with both of them, one on either side of me. My nephew playing Super Princess Peach, my niece playing Pokemon Silver, Soul Silver, and for me, that was, you know, I saw my nephew getting really frustrated because he kept dying in Super Princess Peach. But there's like, do you want me to help you? Do you want? No, I can do it. And then there's my niece who's frustrating me because she's really into the RPG side of Pokemon. It's like, oh, my phone's ringing, my mum's calling me, I need to go home. It's like, no, you're not. Just get on with your adventure. Go catch some Pokemon. But she's enjoying it, so I can't get frustrated with it. She's having fun.
Yeah.
So, and you know, it really amazed me to see her, especially with a text-based game, and she's 6, reading some of the words in it. Like, when she completely read the word "revived" unaided, I was like, "Wow, you're 6. That's good." And yeah, there are so many positive aspects, and it's one of the reasons I will always encourage. I like that Nintendo doesn't jump on board with the voice acting, because I think that there's a lot of kids who get a lot out of a text-based game.
That's actually an interesting point. You actually raise a really good point.
And I stick by that. If you remove text-based gaming, for some kids, that might be the only reading they do. They might not read a book, but they'll read the text.
They've got no
in the
interest in reading a book or studying for their homework. But if you give them a game,
it's a huge part of literacy.
It's a way to, I think that's a really, really good point, because it can be used in that way. And then, you know, you've got sort of the problem solving skills that it teaches you, you know, in terms of puzzle solving and dealing with a situation and overcoming it, and working out how to solve something and how to fix something yourself.
I'm going to be giving them Professor Layton.
Nice. Very good.
I will be giving them Professor Layton.
So there's all sorts of things. And then, of course, hand-eye coordination with platforming and, and that kind of thing. But then you have your, your historical games like Assassin's Creed. Yes, okay, it is a story, but it is based in a historical period. There is research in that period, and it will be dropping in, historical events and things like that. Even some science fiction games will be based on actual science. You know what I mean? So that's really cool.
Professor, that man's just been run over by a truck. Luke, this reminds me of a puzzle. Call an ambulance!
I like on some of the games like sneaking in other languages as a mysterious thing as well. Like I think it was like the Japanese will have English or something like that, and we'll have Braille.
Yeah, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. We've got Braille. Yeah, there was a 3-week period playing Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. I was fluent in Braille.
Wow.
I've forgotten it all now, but for a solid maybe even a couple of months, I could tell you what things were in Braille because of Pokemon.
Yeah. So I think, and there is so much positivity to be taken out of video games, and that's why I sometimes do get frustrated when, general media, all they focus on is, the negativity, the violent video games, and how that leads to gun crime. And no, your laws lead to gun crime. I've said
it before.
So,
I miss Jack Thompson, and I can't believe I'm saying that because he was so batshit mental that at least it became a running joke. Oh, what's Jack Thompson Jack Thompson going to accuse video games of this time? And it just became funny. It was like, actually, you're helping us because you make yourself and everyone else who believes this same attitude look insane.
So I think obviously games are becoming they're obviously more mainstream now, right, than they used to be. Obviously, games used to be quite a niche thing, if you said you were a gamer, but now, and there's so many, different types of gamers, right, and different backgrounds with gaming and everything. So I think I mean, for me personally, games has always had a positive impact on my life. It's helped me in some really tough times. It's helped me find a form of escape. I do feel it's made me much better, like in terms of puzzle solving and everything else. I love the whole feeling of overcoming something, even though I do get frustrated. A lot. That feeling though, when you do overcome it and you do work it out yourself. And I do feel that sometimes games are going a little bit too easy in their puzzle solving, and that they're a bit too handholdy. Particularly for current new generation, I feel like they could do less of that, right, and be a little bit more tougher like they were when we were kids and we had to work it out for ourselves, right? So I do think that could be a thing. But so I just wanted to kind of do something positive really today as a change. How refreshing.
I just thought of a new one as well. And I was also going to mention, I'm sure doctors were using Xbox Connects at one point.
Yeah.
To do surgery or some craziness.
Yeah, just a shame that the games weren't any good, but
I was in a shop today and saw a bin filled with Kinect adventures. Absolutely full to the brim. The only thing in that bin from ground to floor, from ground to hip level bin, nothing but Xbox adventures, 50p each. Kinect adventures.
And also, I haven't been playing the likes of Ring Fit lately, but some games actually make you exercise.
Yeah, they do.
And
and you like VR as well, and Beat Saber, and try and become a lot more, changing gaming again to be more physical and that kind of thing, which is good, because it is important to move, and your health is really important. That can't be stressed enough. Moderation in everything. But certainly. Is there anything else that you guys want to add to this, or are you happy?
I think that's a good summary. I think we've done good there.
Okay, so
we've done well.
Well done, us. Good job, us.
Positivity.
So yes, obviously, please do share your thoughts in the comment section on this topic. Let's actually have some positive comments. So what positive impact have video games had on your life? Anything that you think we've missed? Any stories that you'd like to share? Positive related to video games, please share those in the comment section below. I would actually really love to read those, so please do share them in the comment section below, and let's have a nice and then every time everybody comes to check out the video, they'll be cheered up because it's all positive, which will be nice, which is nice. So we're going to move on to the third section of our podcast today, which is community questions.
Message coming in. Patching it through.
What do you want to know?
So we're gonna I picked 3 questions, from the community. Of course, new for my channel members. Channel members do get priority when it comes to questions. So if you are a member of the channel or a Patreon, you will get priority. But we will get through everybody's questions at some point, hopefully. So I picked 3 questions today. I'm going to kick off with the first question, which probably I'm the only one that can answer, to be fair, on this one. So question 1, and this is from Captain Obvious, love that name, is if you were in charge of a full Dragon Age Origins remake, what would be the 3 things that you would change compared to the original? So neither of you have played Dragon Age Origins, right?
Correct.
Not only Inquisition myself.
Such a good... Oh, it's so good. It's actually the best, I think, out of the 3 Dragon Ages. I would probably say Dragon Age, Inquisition, then Dragon Age 2, in terms of, like, favourite, in that series. But it's... God, I don't even know how old Dragon Age is now, to be fair. I didn't even look that up, but it's getting on, shall we say? It's knocking on. So I think Dragon Age, I would love for them to obviously give the Mass Effect Legendary treatment to the Dragon Age trilogy. I don't think Inquisition really needs it, but 1 and 2 certainly, but definitely 1. Dragon Age is a little bit like Mass Effect 1 in that the best part of that game is the story, is the characters, is the world building, which is phenomenal. Like, the cast of characters are absolutely amazing, and it's just so good. I kind of want to go back and play it again, to be fair.
Wait for the remake.
Wait for the remake. Maybe will never come. I hope it will. But the gameplay is a little bit janky. It can be. It can feel a little bit janky in places, and probably a bit. It still probably stands up, but like Mass Effect 1 might feel a little bit dated, compared to modern games. So the first thing probably is, if I was to sort of change something, I probably would improve that gameplay. I think if they took the gameplay from Inquisition and obviously put that into Dragon Age Origins, I think that would be perfect, because I think Inquisition was the perfect balance between the tactical cam, where you could sort of look on the battleground, like the battlefield, scope out the enemy, work out their weaknesses, queue up some abilities and powers, and move your characters, into position. But then when you went into combat, it was much freer, because you had, quick time buttons, buttons that were button prompts that you could use attacks and spells and different things. So for me, it was the perfect balance between tactical to almost turn-based tactical and action, and I would like that type of gameplay in Origins if it was remade. The other thing I would really like in Origins is, in the first Dragon Age game, the main protagonist was not voice acted, so it was all text, right? Your companions would talk, and people that you met in the world would talk, and characters, right? So you would just select your response, and then they would say something to react to that. But then in 2 they introduced voice acting, right, for the main character, and then they did in 3, and I think they very much took a leaf out of Mass Effect's book, because Mass Effect did so well that they kind of took that sort of approach to the dialogue in 2 and 3 and the voice acting. So I would love for the main character, because I personally, I know you guys feel a little bit different on this, because you grew up on Nintendo, obviously Zelda, you're used to main protagonists that that don't talk. You know, this whole idea of putting yourself into that character, right? And you being that character rather than that character having a voice. But I personally, for RPGs, I prefer when the main protagonist is voice acted. For me personally, I find it easier to I don't know, connect to that character if they're voice acted. And then, you know, just pick and choose my dialogue. So I would like my Grey Warden to be voice acted. That would be really, really cool. And obviously, you know, they'll do like what they did in Inquisition, where you could choose from a select, you know, accents or voices, male or female, you know, which they did. So I would like that. And then the other thing I would like for the PC version of Origins is controller support. Because at the moment, you can't get controller. It's keyboard and mouse, or you have to mod it, which is shocking. Like, because they obviously had the UI, because you could play Origins on console, on Xbox or Xbox 360. So they had the controller layout and support set up there. So why they didn't just port that to PC is absolutely beyond me. And I cannot do keyboard and mouse. It's like I'm 5 years old trying to play a game. Like, I have no hand-eye coordination at all when it comes to keyboard and mouse. I just find it really janky and really unnatural. So that's why I always play with a controller. So yeah, I would like controller support on the PC version of the Dragon Age Origins remake. And then obviously, yeah, graphical improvements, and it would be cool to see some of the amazing locations in Origins just upgraded to modern graphics and textures, and, you know, just redesigns and layouts. Like, there's just some amazing locations that just imagining them in today's level of quality graphics, I'll just be blown away. There's just some amazing locations in one. So yeah, those are probably the improvements that I would like to see in Dragon Age Origins. But now I really want to go play Dragon Age Origins, but I don't have the time, which is like the story of my life.
I think I saw you play bits of it, and I've seen other little scenes here and there. So
yeah.
and already totally agree, especially with like the dialogue missing as well. Like,
Yeah.
I originally thought it was, it's because they've got to do a male voice actor and a female voice actor for depending on what you're at, and then so maybe it's a money thing or a time constraint, and it's like, I could not imagine Shepard in Mass Effect not having a voice.
Not having a voice, can you imagine? Like, it added so much to that experience.
Yeah. And the story and dialogue has expanded so much since they made that first game, that you just wouldn't be able to. So yeah, they'd have to get in. It's same with the Xenoblade games. X was the only one where you didn't have the main character speaking, and it was weird.
Yeah, but it was also a crap game, so...
Well, yeah. I mean, Dragon Age Origins wasn't a crap game. I mean, the fact is, I played it on keyboard and mouse, and you guys know how much I hate keyboard and mouse, and how I am no good at it. The fact that it was that good and the story was that good that I pushed through and played like 70 hours, 80 hours of that should tell you something. Right, of how good that story and world is. But yeah, 100% agree with you, Dante. So let's move on to the next question, okay, from the community. This one is by AJ Gamer. This is actually a great question. AJ's asked a corker of a question, which is, if you could combine any two games into something new, what would you combine? That's an awesome question. Fish, do you want to go first?
Yes, Resident Evil mixed with some kind of turn-based survival tower defense.
Huh. So you're like protecting it from like hordes of zombies?
Yes. Tower defense, Resident Evil. I know it's kind of like their Mercenaries, because Resident Evil Mercenaries is very much a how long can you survive kind of game.
Yeah.
But I'd like it as a turn-based strategy. Almost like Resident Evil XCOM tower defense.
Interesting. Okay. So would you have like different abilities? You have different characters maybe in there?
Yeah.
Like Leon
Absolutely.
and like Jill and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, Leon obviously,
it's got to have his drop kick or something.
Maybe take some inspiration from that cool Resident Evil deck building game Where like
Oh.
Leon is better with pistols, so his pistol weapons don't consume ammo or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That could be cool. I would play
I'd like
that.
to see a Resident Evil. Resident
It would also
turn-based.
be less scary for me. Turn-based is definitely
Turn-based
less
is less
scary. So I probably
this-
would enjoy that more.
The one thing with this question, it was a great question, but all my mind could go to all the time was that'd make a good turn-based. That'd make a good like the other one was Mega Man Battle Network. I know technically it's kind of turn-based mixed with real time, but I would like a Advance Wars style Mega Man Battle Network game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all my mind kept going to.
You're very much feeling the need for a turn-based game.
A good turn-based battle game, yes.
Very good.
And maybe it's just because Advance Wars is on the horizon,
Maybe.
and I've waited so long for it. It's
Probably
almost
that's
here.
the reason. Probably that's the reason that you're excited.
What's the date
for that.
today? What's the date today? It's the 21st. There's like a month and 3 days, and we get it.
You
I've
should
waited too long.
You should do a countdown. Dante, your pick on this?
Similar with that, I don't know why Advance Wars is stuck in the head. So one of the quick ones was what somebody mocked up on Twitter that time when they did a little Mass Effect cross Advance Wars game. It was like, oh, that looks so
That
cool.
was so good. That looked absolutely
All in the little
amazing.
pixel art and all
Oh
that.
my god, it
So
looks
good.
so. I would totally play the hell
Yeah.
out of that. That would be awesome.
So I've got some silly answers and a proper answer. Which do you want?
Ooh,
Silly answers first.
answer first. Yeah.
Okay. First one was a dig. It was going Pokemon and Skyrim. You know, like Scarlet and Violet should have been. Really pretty. And then it was like Pokemon Monster Hunter.
What, you're hunting and killing Pokemon?
Yeah, the dark side, like Legends Arceus, but even darker.
Oh wow.
Proper got a dodge.
You're
roll.
wearing the skin of Charizard.
I was thinking on a similar lines, a Legend of Zelda style Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
That would
yeah.
be cool. That would actually
bet-
be kind of cool.
Dark Souls, Legend of Zelda.
No.
Castlevania. Oh no.
That was basically
Yeah. Because Mario and Rabbids was an amazing crossover in the XCOM style.
Yeah.
And I was thinking I could see like Splatoon done in XCOM style with all the weapons and all that. And I was like,
yeah, that'd work.
and then open world Mario Odyssey style Splatoon. I don't know how you get away with that. But what I was also going to say, Portal cross anything. Any game is better with a portal gun.
Yeah.
Everything is better with portals.
It
man.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
That was the
great
tagline.
game. Portal is amazing.
I might even play FIFA at that rate.
Hell,
That's
it would make it far more
hilarious.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a 10-second game.
Landmines.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
I think the interesting thing with this topic, though, and again, just to diverge, all the things that are cropped into my head were things that's already been done. Things like Professor Layton meets Phoenix Wright,
Right,
stuff
yeah.
like that. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's such a great idea to mash two franchises together.
Yeah, and I kept popping up with other ones, and some have just kind of already been done or couldn't be really improved. So my official answer is a really good Star Fox game. Mash it with the best bits of Starlink, No Man's Sky,
Oh, yeah,
Colony Wars,
Oh, yeah.
Star Wars Squadrons. Right, you know, get a really good.
Oh,
that
can you
kind of
imagine
game.
that in like
No,
VR?
My only question, not question, my only statement with that is, you're saying that like every game that Star Fox isn't a mashup, because we all know how Star Fox games are born, is that somebody's making a game and Miyamoto pops his head round the corner and goes, do you know what that needs? More Star Fox, and then walks off. And that's how Star Fox games are born.
Yeah.
Dinosaur Planet.
Yeah.
It became Star Fox Adventures, but then even that I would nick a bit of that because like No Man's Style is like
We can
you
land on
fly-
planets and
yeah,
fly
like,
into
no-
planets and stuff.
yeah, fly about in planets, do
Yeah.
the bog standard missions and all this and that. Maybe
Mhm.
get out the ship, pick up some bounties, go all Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah. Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah,
What the heck? All right then.
with laser guns and furries. It's an amazing idea. Get
All
it
right.
made.
I'm sure there's a market there for that. I'm sure there's definitely a market for that. Okay. So for my My God.
You can't beat it, can you?
You
No.
can. If you can't beat them, join them. So for mine, I would probably say I want, because I love Assassin's Creed, right? But I hate the way the game series has gone in terms of open world. I want to get back to like old Assassin's Creed, which is about assassinations, yeah. But I want to mix it with Shadow of Mordor, that it's got that nemesis system. And Hitman, in that it's like a sandbox kind of world.
Assassination.
I want to be like an Assassin's Creed like that. So where like you'll try and assassinate, you've got a target that you've got to assassinate, and you've got to scope it out and work out the different ways you can do it.
And there's not just one way to do it.
And there's not just one way to do it. And if you fail, the AI is smart enough that it learns and it changes.
It'll add defenses where there weren't defenses.
Exactly. So that like you get punished the more you fail, so the more challenging it gets, and you have to overcome that. I want that kind of game.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I would love that kind of game.
Bring in more bodyguards. We'll actually lock those doors.
Exactly. And so that you have
maybe
to
don't leave the electric generator next to the swimming pool.
Right. So yes, I would like that. I'd like to see that kind of Assassin's Creed, but like focusing on assassinations and targets and with those kind of mechanics. I think in Assassin's Creed, the AI is it's dumb as hell. It's too easy. It's so dumb, like until like they stop chasing you. So I just think good AI in games can be quite a rare thing. So I would like that Shadow of Mordor thing. So yes, that's my idea.
Good call.
I was quite proud of it. Maybe I need to contact Ubisoft, but I don't think they'll listen to me, unfortunately. I'll crowdfund it. Find someone to develop it. Exactly. So on to the third question. Yeah, if you guys are good to move on. So the third question is from M. Levira, and she asks, what can video games do that other mediums can't do in terms of storytelling? Also, what are the shortcomings of using video games as a storytelling medium compared to others? I've talked quite a bit so far because I answered the whole question by myself. So I'm going to throw this out to you guys mainly, and then I'll chip in my views on things. So who wants to go first?
Dante looks like he's busting to say something.
Okay, Dante, you go.
Only because, once again, university has prepped me for bits of this, and I've already done this kind of research.
As long as you don't answer what I'm going to say.
Right, okay.
Dear.
So, basically, what other like when you're watching a movie, that is it. You've just got the base. You're watching what the character's doing and all this and that. Mm-hmm. In video games, you've got some influence on how the story plays out, whether it's like small to like going this way instead, or doing this, or attacking them in this way, to like larger effects such as like big choices and such. It really ups the emotional reactions as well. You've got more tension and more horror because you're doing it, and it's like, I've got to get away as well as the character. Stuff like that. Character attachment as well, like you're more, because it's like, these are my bros and sisters and all this and that.
My crew,
like, yeah, that's my posse. And the sense of achievement as well, because it's like, you're winning the day, you're pulling these off, or you've figured out a particular puzzle and all this and that. Because when the story's being told, they'll have their little gaming quirks, but if it adds to the story, then you're just more immersed, and it's like it's happening to you in that role. At the same time, then it can have the reverse effect. Anything that brings you out of the immersion, like bugs or gaming tropes, where it's like, oh well, I know what's going to happen here because the
like well placed
that way.
or
like, it's like, that's got
barriers
the spray paint on it. I know I can jump that way, and I'm blatantly going to have a zombie burst through that door any second. It's like, and it got, or say you get stuck in difficult bits, and like there was one quick time event thingy right at the end of like Guardians of the Galaxy, which I finally completed, and I kept fumbling what buttons to press. It didn't help that it was giving me Xbox controller inputs when I was using PlayStation and vice versa. And I'm like, what? And of course, it would be like, oh, a bit of loading screen. Okay, we'll take you back to that really good actiony bit. Ah, you've done it this time. Here's the next cool actiony bit. Oh, you fumbled it. Loading screen. We'll send you back to that. Like, and it just takes you out sometimes. And it's because, like, even though if it's a story and you're playing it, you kind of want to keep it at a good
breaks that
pace.
chain of. It breaks the momentum.
And I think to add into your point there, Dante, that you raise a really good point. Also, I do think as well, the new fad and focus on open world is actually hurting storytelling in games because it breaks it. You know, I'm going to go over and do this side quest and this fetch quest. Where was I? You know, and
which leads me on perfectly onto the point.
Well, there you go. It's like I didn't even know that. Oh.
Dante has stolen my point, which was it inserts you as a person into the game, but by proxy, actually one of the best gaming moments revolves around what I would say is the illusion of giving you the choice. Now, there's some games which think, yeah, that's really good, but it's effectively a very linear story. And I'm not going to give a spoiler warning for this because it's been almost, 15 to 20 years. If you've not played BioShock by now, shame on you.
I have played it, so I'm safe.
Yeah. The twist of, your illusion of choice. Hey, would you kindly, that was mind-blowing as far as storytelling is concerned. You go through that game thinking you're in control, and you are not. And that is storytelling at its finest. You are inserted into it. You believe that you are the one taking charge of it, and finding it out at the end that you are not. It's not just giving a person choice, it's giving them the illusion of choice as well, as such a great storytelling factor. The only thing I can even think that gets close to it outside of video games is the choose your own adventure books, where it's like, make a choice, turn to page 60, whatever. That's the only thing that even comes close to that level of control over a form of media.
Which you don't have, which you don't have in TV or movies or even books. That's been written by someone else. That's their vision. You have you're you're along to enjoy it, but you don't.
They tried with that Netflix series. Was it called Bandersnatch, where you actually, as you were watching it, you made a choice and it would play a specific video scene after. So again, people have tried to capture it in other mediums, but no one does it as well as video games do. And I think that's your key strength that video games have over all of the forms of media, is the ability to insert you as a person into that story. Nothing can compare.
Yeah, I do think it's a dual-edged sword though, because obviously you have this sense of like ownership that gamers will have, in that like they are so invested in that character and that world and that story, and they feel that they've got some say in that world and in that universe. So you look at things like if that, say it's a trilogy or it's a game series, and it doesn't end in the way that you would like it to end, or a character makes a decision that you would never have made, or things happen. Right. So like the Mass Effect trilogy and the ending of Mass Effect 3, which is obviously super controversial because of the three endings, which were just the three colors: control, synthesis, and destroy. And then obviously the way that finished, and just the backlash from the community against that. And the same with The Last of Us Part 2, right? I'm not going to say what happens, but there's a big thing in it that happens that people were like, what now? Like and they just went absolutely ape. But at the end of the day, that story, those characters, that world, while they've experienced that game, and it's amazing that they can be that invested in that game, and obviously they feel a certain degree of love and for that world, it doesn't belong to them. It was written by a team of writers and creative artists, and
but again, I think that's all down to, that's more on you as a gamer to accept that.
Yeah, but some people can't accept that.
And that's, but again, I would say that's less a fault of the gaming industry and more a fault of the player.
Yeah, it's not the problem of the video games, but it is a unique thing. You don't find that in like Oh, maybe you do.
No, you do.
You do.
I'd say
Yeah, the Star Wars
equally as valid.
movies and
There's been several books I've read where it's
You're
got to
right.
the end and go, that ending was
True. Very
One of
true.
my
I mean, everyone's going to have opinions on things, aren't they?
One of my absolute favourite book series of all is the Vampire's Assistant series by Darren Shan. Every book, there's 12 books in total, all of them amazing. And then the last few chapters of that final book are just so half-assed. It's like, really? I've read 12 books, all of which were great, and that's how it ends? Really? It's, every medium has that potential when you're telling a story.
Yeah.
Can you end a story well?
True. Very, very true. That is true, and
I don't
people
think
get
that's
passionate about
that's not a fault of video games.
People are passionate about books and TV and movies and all sorts of media, aren't they? But yeah, I suppose that is a good point. I guess. Anything else you want to add, Dante?
I just thought of one right now, just because we were mentioning the storytelling kind of aspect. Is what was the question? You can't exactly do it in movies and most other medium, but say, like, I'm gonna say it, codex entries, right? Like the Mass Effect did a good job of storytelling and showing, different worlds and this and that, but there was a heck of a lot of backstory and world building, like in these codex and that.
Yeah.
Which, like, if you spent the time to read them, it really fleshed stuff out and made other things make more sense and all that. And
agreed. It's probably the only one compliment I can give The Ascent. When we were playing that game, the sheer level of effort that had gone into world building in The Ascent was insane.
Yeah.
The text blogs that you found went on forever, and you could spend the better part of a month reading these.
Got little mini novels everywhere.
Yeah, I guess that is where it is superior, because obviously, on TV and movies, you've got to factor in pacing and length and restrictions on the length of a movie, and therefore you might cut certain bits out, or you might, when you've seen adaptations of books and things like that, and they, cutting out whole segments which are quite important character development moments.
And again, to play devil's advocate for that, though, he's just made me realise that comes back to the old adage of, that RPG was shit. Well, did you read the text boxes, or did you just mash A till you got to the next action bit? Oh, I just mashed A. Well, did you actually know what the story was then? Well, no. That's the downfall of that, is finding the balance between how much world building do you enforce on the player, and how much world building do you put casually, subtly in the background to allow them to explore if they so choose. Because if you let a player bypass certain elements of world building, then they will do, because people are impatient by nature. People just want to get on with it.
Yeah.
So there are very few people who want to dedicate the time to fully investing themselves in a world.
Yeah.
I know Dante is one of those people who, it takes him forever to finish a game because he has to overturn.
Yeah, like the first
rock.
tutorial. It's like the beginning of Dying Light 2. It's like you have to play tutorial. It's like it took me it took Dante 2-3 hours to beat the first beginning tutorial.
There was a box I didn't check. And
I'm like, okay, how long did it take me? 30 minutes probably. And I think that is the balance between video games, because you've got to find that balance between storytelling but also gameplay,
anticipating what the players were likely to do.
Yeah, you've got to find that balance, because sometimes if it's just a game and you don't want to sit through an hour's worth of cutscene or 20 minutes worth of cutscenes.
Metal Gear Solid.
Exactly right. Do you remember that? What was the game where it was an Xbox exclusive where they interspersed actual television episodes in between gameplay segments? It's one where you controlled, you had powers and stuff. Quantum Break.
Oh,
right.
Do you remember it? So it
I
was
thought that was just a companion.
No,
video.
so it was an actual video. It was an actual video game by Remedy, I think, the guys that made Control, and it was an experiment. They had segments of gameplay, and then interspersed between that gameplay, you had a whole 45-minute episode, which was live action of the actors playing to expand upon the world, and it didn't go down great. But you had to watch them. to like carry on the game. It wasn't even an optional thing. That was definitely an experiment between like two different mediums and trying to merge them together. It was an interesting experiment. I quite enjoyed the game, but I can imagine some people were a bit like, I'm here to play a game, not watch a TV episode, kind of thing.
That just reminded me of the dot hack games where you had like a second disc which just had like a little anime episode with each one to give it a bit of what's going on while you're playing this.
I've just thought of another one when we were saying about choice, and this conversation could go on forever. But you want a good game for choice, and that is simply Fahrenheit.
Never played that. Yeah.
For those of you who are in America, you will know it as Indigo Prophecy, and it was basically the first one by the people who did Heavy Rain. The idea that everything you do has a consequence. Every choice you make has a knock-on effect, and depending on what you do, that is entirely how that game plays out. Every decision you make in that game has a choice and a knock-on effect.
Yeah,
that is a game which gives you choice. Fahrenheit, and it is available on Steam at the moment, so you can play it for those of you who haven't. Yeah,
I'm
Indigo
interested
Prophecy
in that.
for Indigo Prophecy for people who haven't. For people in North America.
I enjoyed Heavy Rain, and I also played Detroit Become Human. As well, which is another one of theirs. And again, that's the same, like you make choices, and often they're quick choices, like you don't have long to choose it, and it can mean the difference between life and death for particular characters, and the story just carries on.
It's possible to end the story of Fahrenheit in the first 10 minutes if you make the wrong choices.
Yeah, that's really good. Those games were good. That was harrowing, stressful storytelling.
If you like Heavy Rain,
I did
play Fahrenheit.
I've played Heavy Rain and I've played Detroit Become Human, and I've enjoyed both. So I definitely will check out Fahrenheit. I'm interested. You know me. I'm a story-based gamer, so I'm definitely down for that. So I think that's a good place to stop our podcast today. Thank you so much for those questions, guys. Some great questions there. Obviously, do make sure that you do post your questions in the comments section below, and we will obviously answer those in turn in our next podcast, which will be returning in April. Obviously, everything we've discussed today, if you've got any comments, you want to share your good stories or positive impacts of games, share those below as well.
Let us know.
Yes, let us know. And if you have any suggestions, of course, for video game adaptations, whether that's TV, movies, anime, let us know. And we will add it to our very long list already.
If you do suggest the Chun-Li Street Fighter movie, though,
we will
hunt you down and end you. I would
awful.
rather watch a Yui Ball movie than watch that film.
So bad. It's got Lana, who played the girl who played Lana in Smallville. It's got her in it as Chun-Li. It's like the worst casting ever. I feel bad for the girl. Poor girl. Yes, but we are actually going to be doing our research in the next month, and we're going to be getting together and watching some of these video game adaptations, things we haven't seen in a while. And then what we'll be doing on the next podcast is actually ranking them together, and hopefully we can come up with some kind of agreement. I'm really looking forward to that one in April, so please do look forward to that, guys. But thank you so much. Obviously, if you've watched all the way through, well done. It's like an hour 15 minutes, so thank you so much for sticking with us.
That's shorter than our last few.
That's true. So thank you so much for listening and watching. Hope you guys are enjoying these podcasts. Do feedback on how you are enjoying them, and if you have any suggestions for future topics and things like that, do share those in the comment section. Of course, thank you again, Fish and Dante, for joining me.
Thank you for having me
on today's podcast. But take care, everybody. Take care, have a lovely week, and as always, happy gaming.
Bye.
Johnny!
We should go. Bye, guys.